And welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena, kicking off our coverage tonight of Play versus Collegiate Overwatch. Boise State looking up pick up a win against one of the best teams in the country, and that is Bay State. I'm Michael Fisher. Joining me to call all the action is Colby D'Angelo Alloway. And D'Angelo, we know this is a tough matchup. Bay State considered a top 6 team. They run with the likes of Northwood. They run with the likes of Maryville. So how can Boise State come out victorious at the end of the night here?
Boise State has a couple of maps that we think we would have the advantage on, and we have some comps judging by what Bay State likes to run, which is an Orisa Sigma spam comp. They're really, really good at that. That is just something that they're known for being good at. We think we have the answer to something. We think we have the answer to that comp on a couple of very specific maps. Not to give anything away, but we also have a couple comps that we think could be extra powerful against Bay State. And
looking at the Bay State roster, I think one of the things which, as you as a former support player, is probably very excited to see, support is going to be the magnifying glass tonight because that is where Bay State excels. They have, I think, what you said, a 4,600 and a 4,500 support. So there's a lot of pressure on a large Bagel and Chosen to kind of mirror what their supports are doing because the rest of the team looks pretty even. I mean, Bay State just has got that maybe support advantage that I think Bagel and Chosen can definitely make up, but there's a lot of pressure on them.
And it's not because Chosen and Bagel are like bad in any way. It's just because they're 46 and 45.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is like trying out for Owl. That's just...
It's insane. And speaking of their supports, Neb, who is the one who you kind of alluded to, did try out for Owl, is actually going to join us in between games 1 and game 2. They're going to get up after whatever happens on Control. Come join us, so cannot wait for that as we get our lineup here for Play Versus. It's a best of 5. Play Versus, the one that guarantees we get to see Assault as we go Control, Assault, Escort, Hybrid, and back to Control. Higher seed picks map 1, which I believe will be Bay State because Boise State unfortunately has a loss in Play Versus after playing Northwood last week, and then after that, the map loser will pick. So even if Boise State loses a map on Control or Assault, the Angel's not bad because, as you alluded to, there are maps Boise State wants to ensure they get. Not saying they're going to lose on purpose, but sometimes a loss to be able to pick your next Assault or Escort or Hybrid map can sometimes be a benefit in disguise.
And that's the point of letting the loser pick the next map so that it doesn't turn into a roll or a sweep or anything like that, so that the loser can get these maps where they think they have an advantage, they think they have something that they can leverage against Bay State. Not saying that Boise State is going to throw Control and not saying that we expect to lose Control, because this is actually talking to Doc and talking to the players before cast. This is actually a map that if everybody plays to the best of their ability, we think that we have a genuine shot here. This is definitely going to be a team that Boise State has to kind of rise to the level of and exceed if we want to win, because most polls put them at like 4 or 5, and then those same polls put us at 6 to 11, somewhere around there. So this is definitely a match where Boise State is not favored, but it's not like it would be impossible.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we've seen in the last few weeks is Boise State is getting closer to cracking that top 5, right? We take a map off Northwood. We took a map off Maryville in ABC the other day. We need that signature win. And I think this is that game, as you allude to. If everybody plays as they've been playing recently, if Boise State is on their A game, this is a winnable game that kind of busts you into that top 5 that you said that Bay State currently sits at. Well, as we wait to get into the game, we can throw it over to Doc's keys of the game and let Boise State know exactly what they need to do to pull off, again, not what will be a monumental upset, but one where they're definitely not the favored team, and that is to never take a fair fight. And what does that mean? It means take fights in unexpected places when they are unprepared, and of course you got to have tempo, tempo, tempo. Doc's Keys brought to us by Drop-In Gaming. Drop-In Gaming is the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you to begin your competitive gaming journey. Sign up at dropingaming.com. And as we wait for Control to be picked again, I believe Bay State is the higher seed. I think they are still undefeated while Boise State has that one loss to Northwood. You alluded to certain maps that Boise State likes, D'Angelo. Is there a certain Control map you think Boise State would like to get against Bay State as we get a chance to take a look at the lineups here? Do you think there's a certain map Boise State's looking for?
Lijiang is definitely Boise State's Control bread and butter. If we were going to pick a Control map where we have the advantage, that would definitely be a top contender in there, just because we run the sim strat. I mean, everybody runs the sim strat. We all know exactly what to do. Run that form of Symmetra brawl. And that is one of the things that Boise State thinks that they could possibly leverage against Bay State here tonight.
It is going to be Lijiang. Again, I thought Bay State was the higher seed. Maybe Boise State was. I never did get confirmation, but we'll get Lijiang regardless. We did see the lineups there, by the way. Those are brought to you by Count. Count Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. And as we get on to Lijiang, of course, you hit on it. The Symmetra difference is going to be the one thing you look at here. But at this high of a level, I don't think we'll see too much off from the Symmetra. So what are you looking at going into our first fight? If it is a Symmetra map, as you know, most of them are, what are you looking for besides the Symmetra teleports that can give Boise State the advantage in the first fight on control? Because if you win the first fight, you can snowball from there.
The rest of the brawl in addition to the Symmetra. So like the Reinhardt that's playing with the Symmetra, or the possible Cole Cassidy, or even a May could work with the Symmetra if you're trying to go really, really hard for that brawl. The rest of the brawl, because we expect both Symmetras to do their job, right? This is Boise State and Bay State. We don't really expect either one of the 4 DPS there to like mess up a Sim TP or something like that.
Yeah.
But the person that wins the first fight wins the right to stay on Symmetra the rest of the map, right? And that's really, really crucial. Both teams will need to switch off of that Symmetra the second you lose the first fight. But the Symmetra is actually the least impactful person in this brawl right now.
Yeah, after the teleport goes out, I mean, there's like an argument maybe the Symmetra just wishes they could swap on the fly. But it is Bay State. It is Boise State. It's some of the best Overwatch collegiate teams in the country. Bay State in that upper echelon. Boise State trailing behind them, as D'Angelo said. These teams usually in that 4 to 7 range in most of the polls. Bay State 4 to 5. Boise State about 5 through 7, 6 through 8. Excited to see what we're going to see on Lijiang. You can see everybody's here ready to go. Again, this is a Boise State team that has had some great performances recently, taking maps off Northwood, taking maps off of Maryville. They're getting better and better. They're almost ready to break through that first thing as they're getting all hyped up and ready to go.
And hyped up is what we need them to be, right? We need that energy to be flowing. We need everybody to be working together. We need everybody to be playing at their absolute best. And part of playing at your absolute best is being excited about the game that you're playing. And this is definitely one to be excited about.
Well, here we go. Map number 1 on Lijiang. We expect both Symmetras to maybe teleport into the middle, though you do have to watch out for a Lucio rollout if that is what you're going to do.
Bagel boops? Do we see any of that tonight?
That's a great way to start the map out, right? With a double boop off the edge. Though I would expect Bay State's going to be ready for it. I would expect we probably have one team maybe go mid, one team go behind. We'll have to see, though. Again, as D'Angelo mentioned, you're watching for the rest of the brawl, and keep your eyes on the supports, because that is where, on paper, Bay State has a slight edge, because their supports are, again, nothing against Bagel or Chosen. Their supports, Neb in particular, 4,600. So if there's a player to watch out for Bay State, it is Neb on whatever his hero of choice is going to be.
And that will probably be the most impactful if Neb is a Baptiste player, so that is probably what Boise State doesn't want to see.
Well, we get into it, and we get the bad news that right now Boise State is actually up 1. Faded does get taken out. And, oh, a huge boot potentially. It does look like Forgotten Barely Live was able to dash away. And Boise State starts out with an early win, an early point picked up for the Broncos. As so far, Bay State just has to wait for the reset.
And so we have Abs in, who is 4501, but we do not have Neb in right now unless they're on alt of some sort.
That's what I was looking for. I think we have to play with the assumption that Neb is just simply on an alt for. Oh, Neb is actually not in at all. Mikon is in as Gav gets the second elimination onto Mikon. Faded will go down as well, and get the coalescence coming out from Abs as Cade will get an elimination. Kel will lose the mech. The Ant Matrix will go down, but Boise State still gaining at 35%.
4,600 support not in. We win game? Question mark. This has been really, really nice for Boise State so far. Now what we're looking for from Bay State.
So we get unfortunately, the photon barrier. I don't know if Boise State didn't get behind it because I saw it go down and they just kind of died. That was a great fight by Bay State.
Great fight by Bay State. They all went in with the EMP, and that we didn't get a great view of it because we saw the photon barrier, but the EMP is what won them that fight there. They went in with the EMP, and I was just about to say it, but they did it before I could get the words out of my mouth. Now, Boise State, if they want to be into this, Kel could get a huge bomb, which, I mean, they'll have to wait for the bubble or to do something like that. Or they could just win the brawl in this room, bait Bay into this room.
Well, there they go into the room. We are going to see the Infernal Bomb will come out for Bay State. It only takes down the mech. We get a nice two-man shatter, a sound barrier as well, but it comes out from Macon. And unfortunately, a boop off the edge at Bay State survives a couple of ults from Boise State.
And the boop off of the edge was definitely something that Macon did an amazing job at. They saw their opportunity. Plato was going for the Shattered Monkey, but alas, Macon not only got the elimination onto Plato, but also saved their team member. Now, what we're looking for from Bay State here, they have another EMP, and we don't have Sound Barrier to counter it. So that's almost a free fight win for them, unless Gob gets the elimination.
I think the EMP got stunned by Gob. The EMP completely whiffed. So Boise State will take down both DPS of Bay State. Faded will fall as well. That is a great play, I would assume, by Goblin with the flashbang there, stunning the EMP midcast.
We still need to be worried, though, because they still have that EMP. It was canceled, but not completely, like, taken out. So, and a large Bagel might actually, because we've been given another fight, and because Bagel has gotten 30 ult charge in a fight and a half. Nope,
ooh,
not quite.
So close. Can still throw it down immediately while the rest of Boise State is alive. They photon barrier as well. Well, there's the Diva Bomb from Kel. Doesn't find anything, but Gob is able to get the one elimination onto Macon. Gonna go for the Deadeye. Basically just kind of line of sight all of Bay State. And now we're on maybe last fight here for Bay State.
Zoning Deadeye is what we call that. And Bay State had the EMP, but they didn't have the follow-up for the EMP, so I actually don't know if a large Bagel needed to use the sound barrier there. Better safe than sorry, though. We won the fight in dominant fashion.
Now it's up to a large Bagel probably to build one more sound barrier because Cabe is building this EMP incredibly fast. Does get a nice hack onto Plato, who has the Shatter available. Getting booped around. Shatter does land just onto that Sombra. Diva Bomb does have to get blocked by Plato, though, and Macon, the support substitute, gets a huge boop off the edge. Boise State is in overtime. The EMP gets used despite Bay State being in complete control of that fight. So they're now going to flip the point back, and that EMP is going to go on cooldown.
And because that EMP is on cooldown and was used in a fight that Bay State, to secure a fight that was in Bay State's favor but not completely won yet, Boise State has this last fight. We will probably have sound barrier either before the fight or mid-fight. And Boise State can use that in an aggressive manner to win this next fight from Bay State as long as nobody gets picked in rotations.
Cave has to build this EMP incredibly fast. Coalescence is going to come out. Immortality Field does get used by Chosen as we get a Shatter plus a Photon Barrier. There is that sound barrier, but unfortunately Gob died before it went out. Macon will go down as well. A huge boop off the edge for Faded with that Primal Rage. Unfortunately, is going to make Boise State lose their main tank. You can see Maxwell already setting up a teleporter to try and help Plato get back into this next fight. 99-99 on the point. Boise State will lose their main support in the Lucio, though. Plato will go off the edge. That is a huge loss for the Broncos, and I think that is what will spell their ultimate demise here, as I don't think the rest of the team can get back for one more fight. Goblin trying to stall time in overtime, gets body blocked, and Bay State will come out victorious on map 1.
And I think the biggest thing there was the issues with the respawn teleporter trying to get back before the fight fully reset. We were staggering too bad, and as people were trying to come back, get back into the fight, that just did not go Boise State's way. Something else that bears mentioning, Forgotten on the Tracer is doing a fantastic job at terrorizing Boise State's not only like back line, but like their mid line, their front line, their everything line. And we know for a fact that Gob is amazing on the Cole Cassidy. We've seen him pull Cole Cassidy to amazing success, but the Tracer is still getting an insane amount of value. So I think that that bears mentioning that Forgotten's doing a wonderful job, and hopefully we find a way to counter that.
Yeah, I thought the Tracer Sombra DPS line of Bay State was really just being a thorn in the Broncos' side as we kick off our second map. We saw a Symmetra there for Cave as well as a Junkrat for Forgotten.
Oh, no.
And it's a large Bagel who's going to be the first elimination. Both Immortality Fields do go down. Infernal barely hanging on by a thread in the mech, but we will be able to survive. And unfortunately, Boise State will get forced for a full reset there.
And better to reset. I mean, first fight, better to reset immediately after somebody else is eliminated than to fight that out and just give them 3%. Boise State will be able to set up for a next fight before this hits even. Ooh, no longer. We did not get the full reset that we needed to. Forgotten being a terror on that Junkrat.
Forgotten has been playing phenomenally well. Boise State will once again opt for a reset. They do have the Hanzo now for Goblin, maybe going to be able to get some spam on the back line of Bay State as we see. And Matrix goes down from Ab. Boise State's just simply going to line of sight it, but unfortunately a Flame Strike will pick out a large Bagel. And I think he may be out for the reset here, D'Angelo. At least wait for a large Bagel to get back without feeding them more percent.
But we did get an ultimate out of them, so this fight, if we choose to reset now, which we exactly are, that was actually good that we were able to get the Shatter out of Faded there. Faded will not have another Shatter before our next engage, so that's good. Boise State is staying on the Symmetra even though we lost the second fight with a very specific sim brawl purpose in mind. We have Goblin for the shield break and for a ton of damage, but then we have Symmetra for all that front line and to make Faded on the Reinhardt's day not very good.
Forgotten was trying to be a bit sneaky there, ends up getting caught out. Photon Bear is going to go down. Dragon Strike will come through, plus a Shatter, but it did get blocked, and Makin's just going to simply drop that sound barrier down. Immortality Field, the only thing that is lost to the Diva Bomb, however, is Boise State does pick out Faded. Plato, though, cannot survive either, so both Reinhardts are down. The Diva Bomb goes out just to clear some space, and it looks like Boise State should be able to hop onto the point as Faded has respawned. Broncos just trying to clean things up, but a great stall from Infernal is going to allow Faded to get back on the point. But I think Bay State's opted for a reset.
Plato got the aggressive pin and elimination onto the enemy Reinhardt before getting eliminated himself. But if you can trade main tank for main tank, it's all down to the rest of your team, and it worked out well for Boise State. Now, as we're trying to defend here, Plato is back, so we have a full defense. I expect us to use Amplification Matrix on the engage.
Riptire is going to come out and picks up a double kill, unfortunately, for Bay State. And now they lose Maxwell as well. Boise State's going to have to probably just stall as long as they can with Kell and company. And unfortunately, a great Riptire means this is last fight for Boise State.
Bay State ulted first, and Boise State was not ready for it. We had the Amplification Matrix to put down. We didn't put it down on the approach. We let them get the Tire off first. The Tire, which is usually a relatively counterable ultimate.
We do get a couple of trades for Boise State. The only problem is they are in overtime. Bagel did get a touch, uses the sound barrier to keep himself alive, trying to sustain on the point, at least bought time for the rest of Boise State to walk forward. But right now, Boise State is basically lambs to the slaughter, unfortunately. They are going to get one more pick onto the Junkrat, but Bay State will pull out the win, and they will win on control.
The biggest issue that Boise State is currently having is ultimate usage and just overall ultimate aggression. So like using the ultimates first, using them quickly, and using them well. Boise State is not doing that to the level Bay State is, and we need to do that if we want to win.
And I thought especially on this first map, Boise State was pretty close, if not more, the aggressor with the ults. But you're right, that second map in particular was all in favor of Bay State. They pulled so many ults out first, and they ended up getting it done. Well, don't forget that Boise State Esports is always looking for talented players and production members, good grades, and good eligibility. You can earn new scholarships as well. Sign up today by visiting boisestate.edu/esports. We're going to take a quick break, though. Before we do that, we actually have we have an interview. That is right. We're going to go over to Neb. We were hyping Neb up. Didn't get to see him on the first map, but I'm sure he had some thoughts on how Bay State played. So excited to hear from Neb as we've mentioned, hyping them up. They are the support for Bay State 4600. We got just got done with Overwatch League tryouts as well. So going to be a very, very interesting person to see how they saw Bay State's win from the Bay State lens, because of course we see everything from the Boise State lens.
And also, especially, plot twist, they missed that map because they were in the Overwatch League tryouts. I mean, I know that's not necessarily the case.
Hopefully they didn't miss that map because they were waiting for an interview for us. I'd feel really bad. I'd feel like very, very bad if that happened.
I absolutely don't think, because we're on the cast. But anyway, it'll be interesting to talk to Neb about what they play, what they like to play. Maybe Lijiang is not their favorite map.
Yeah, I don't know in Bay State if Bay State maybe has certain map comps. Might maybe hear Neb in the background there. Haven't quite been able to see him yet, though, so hopefully we are able to get in touch with him again. Neb, support for Bay State, 4,600. We were hyping him up. We were all ready for him, and then he just disappears, you know. I guess he's like Batman. He only appears when we need him most. So hopefully we're able to see Neb here, hopefully able to get connected to him in just a little bit. And be able to, like you said, what he plays. I mean, I'd love to hear about the Overwatch League tryouts as well, because we did tell he got done with that. Because, I mean, I don't know, maybe I feel like part of the reason to try out for Overwatch League this year is because you could be the only like one of the 40 people in the world who could play Overwatch 2.
That's true.
Like, that's kind of cool.
Trying really, really hard to play what is likely going to be an incomplete game.
Whoa. We don't want to go there. I'm just trying to hype up the cool parts, okay? The cool part. We'll get to the other problems at another day. But
being a professional video gamer is very cool.
That is also very cool. But yeah, you could be like, you're on Overwatch 1? Like, what is that? That's so 2021. I'm on Overwatch 2. Like, what are you doing? So we're waiting to hopefully hear from Neb, hopefully able to get him connected and talk to him a little bit while we wait in between games. It's Boise State and Bay State. It is Play versus Collegiate Overwatch. And Neb should be here joining us now on the desk. There you are. Neb, how are you doing? Oh, doesn't look like we can hear Neb on our end. Technology is just so fickle, D'Angelo.
I mean, and we would know we deal with technology all day, every day.
Exactly, yeah.
What's also been a little bit fickle is the Boise State ultimate usage and the aggression thereof, just from the last match. And so if we don't fix that, I expect Boise State not to win if we can't figure out how to use our ultimates. The good thing is, though, that is the easiest thing to fix.
Exactly. You just have to hit a button. Just hit
pressing Q faster is the easiest thing in the game to do.
So we are waiting for Neb. I think the ultimate usage will get it fixed. As we wait for Neb, we're going to Assault next. Again, Play versus loves their Assault. We talked about maps. Any map you think maybe Boise State in particular would like to see? I don't want you to give away any secret comps they might have, but do you think there's a certain map, or do you think we'll just see Temple of Anubis because that has kind of been the go-to Assault map for, I feel like, everybody?
Temple of Anubis could be one, but we really don't want to go to Temple of Anubis because that plays to their strengths as opposed to ours. And it looks like we have Neb here, too.
We're able to... Oh, we can hear you this time.
We have the audio.
And so, I mean, Neb... I kind of want the Bay State perspective. I don't know if you were able to watch part of Map 1. I mean, what were your takeaways as a Bay State fan, if you will, from Map 1 between Bay State and Boise State?
It looked like we had like a good brawl and a good six-man is what we call that comp with like the Moira Monkey Diva, where you're just all in the back line.
And that was something Boise State definitely was not ready for. A single Cole Cassidy Goblin made a valiant effort, but could not fend against the six-man himself. Now, what about you as a player, though? We know you're a support player, but what do you play?
Yeah, I'm mostly Brig specialist right now because we have abs. I'm a flex support, but turned flex player, so I've picked up Brig for the team. So if it's Temple of Anubis, like you were saying, you should see me in.
Oh, now I'm hoping we get Temple of Anubis. And Neb, we know what you want, what you play. What is your favorite hero in Overwatch, though?
My favorite hero is BAP.
Absolutely. I was expecting something like that to come out of it just because he tends to be really, really high impact, and there's a lot of things that you can do with BAP. What are your favorite things to do on BAP?
Just like ego peeking Overwatch League players and ranked.
Absolutely. That is the reason to play Baptiste.
Speaking of Overwatch League, I think Doc Haskell told us that you recently tried out for that. I mean, tell us a little bit about what that was like for you.
Nah, I didn't make the tryouts.
Oh.
Our other main support, Mikon, he made them. But nah, I just applied for the shock and unfortunately didn't get it. But you know, next year's a new year.
Exactly. I mean, and is that what your goals are right now? Is to make it to the Overwatch League and kind of do that thing?
I think it'd be cool. I think I need to improve a bit more, but school's pretty good in the meantime.
Good answer.
College good for scrimming and making you better as a player? Is that the best route to professional Overwatch?
Well, this is the best team I've been on, and I think us as a team, if Path to Pro did come back up, we'd have a good shot at making trials or contenders.
Well, Neb, do you have anything else from D'Angelo? Because we said if we pick Temple of Anubis, he might have to get in, so I don't want to hold him for too long. Do you have anything else for him?
Would you say that going from collegiate Overwatch to professional Overwatch is the best or most efficient path? Or if not, what do you think is the best for players who want to go pro out there?
Well, right now, Path to Pro is on a break, so you don't see any contenders or open division or trials. So right now, collegiate is basically all that we have. But
Yep.
Now entering King's
So.
Grove.
that's it.
Initiating
Well, it sounds like we're getting a game, Neb. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd say I wish you luck, but as a Boise State fan, I can't really say that. So I hope you do well, but I hope
wish
we
you
get the
luck,
victory
Neb.
in the end. But thank you again for joining us, Neb.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
That was Neb support for Bay State. Again, 4,600. Potentially, if we see Assault, sound like we might have been going to Kings Row, but I think Assault is second. But if we do get Assault,
Am I good to go?
probably going to see Neb on that, potentially on Temple of Anubis. So be very excited to see him. I mean, kind of like we haven't seen too much Brig. I will say, we have not seen too much Brig in Overwatch so far.
And
This year, at least.
usually that's for you bring Brig in for very, very specific comps. So like Neb was saying, they picked him up as a Brig player for very specific comps, and then for those comps that they don't run, Mekon is in. And we had no idea that Mekon was also in those Overwatch League tryouts, which is amazing and makes getting booped off of the edge by, somebody who tried out for and made some of these Overwatch League tryouts. I mean, it feels a little bit better to get sent into the virtual koi pond by somebody who's a potential OWL player as opposed to just another collegiate player.
And just also, I mean, let's talk about the stock of riches that Bay State has. You have, you have a support that's 4,600. You have a support that's 4,500. We didn't have Macon's rank, but then you have another support who we didn't even know about, who's trying out for Overwatch League. So, I mean, that's always nice when you have three players, D'Angelo, that you can kind of cycle in and out whenever you feel like it, best maps. That always makes life really, really fun and really, really nice if you're the Bay State side of things.
Macon is currently 43.58, so right about the same level that most of the rest of the team is.
Exactly, yeah.
But clearly they must be an amazing team player, which is actually much, much better for things like Overwatch League than being an amazing individual player. And we saw Macon not only charge those sound barriers, which were not necessarily to great effect, not because of anything Macon did, but because Boise State didn't have any huge ultimates that came out that really needed defending against. But it was truly at will, the members of Boise State going off the map into the boops. And I do think that while we won't have problems with boops, if we do go Temple of Anubis, I do think that would be playing to the strengths of Bay State more than Boise State, because Temple of Anubis is a known spam map. Bay State is a known spam team. So I just think it would be too much in their court if we went for the Temple of Anubis 2 CP map.
See the lineups there for both teams. Today's lineups brought to you by Count. Count Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, enables personalized customer experience for the 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. Of course, for Boise State, we know Play-Doh, Kel, Gob, Maxwell, Chosen, and a large bagel. And for Bay State, Abs, Neb, Faded, Infernal, Forgotten, Cabe, and now we, of course, know Macon is also in that lineup. So sounds like probably Neb and Macon kind of swap back and forth depending on the map. And so I was going to say, you kind of ruled out at least Temple of Anubis in your own opinion, D'Angelo. So where should Boise State go on Assault having map choice?
This is not where they should. Probably Volskaya if they wanted to do something like that, because we could run some comps there that we expect Bay State to have a difficult time dealing with. I don't want to give too much away, even though the stream does have a delay. I don't want to give too much away. But the comps and the heroes that we think Bay State might struggle with, because they have historically struggled with them, that would be the best map to go against them on. You definitely, Hanamura is probably going to be rough, because
that's what
it's
the
a
pick
map
was.
that can either go the way of spam or the way of brawl. And while Boise State does run a good brawl and does have a lot of success in those sort of maps, they also could run spam, and that is, again, playing to their strengths. So Hanamura is kind of like the middle ground between the two teams. Both teams are expected to be kind of at their best, both on offense and defense. So Hanamura is the most interesting map. It's not the most in Boise State's favor, but it's the most interesting.
Well, Boise State picks Hanamura, so,
we have a plan.
Yeah, I was going to say, any maybe insight on what the plan might be? Is there a certain, what do you think Boise State picks Hanamura for? Is it to activate Goblin? Is there a certain, you've got the cheat sheet over there. Is there anything you see again, while being as strategic as possible, is there anything you see that might lend to the Hanamura decision where you said it feels like it's kind of an even map between the two teams?
Either sim TPs where we teleport Bastion around the high ground, which is totally a viable strat that Boise State has had a lot of success against a lot of different teams with, or May. I fully expect this to be probably playing around the DPS picks on Hanamura. We have some sort of plan. It probably revolves around the DPS that we're playing, and we expect to be able to hit Bay State with something that they don't know what's coming, or we expect to hit Bay State with something that maybe they're not fully prepared to go against. Because, I mean, that's what Boise State does. It's all over Doc's keys to the game. Take fights in unexpected places, and one of those unexpected places could be a whole map.
Yeah, I mean, you can even throw in a comp that they're not expected for, because it's not very easy, especially if you're... And I would assume Boise State's probably attacking first. Very rarely do we see a team, because again, the losing team gets map choice, the winning team then gets side choice. Usually everybody picks defense for, whatever reason you like. And so it's not very easy on defense unless you have a Sombra scout to be able to see what the other comp is and change quickly. So Boise State maybe can catch them off guard, win a quick fight, and then you force swaps. And we'll see what Boise State wants to do. We'll see if they are indeed attacking here as we get ready to kick off Hanamura.
And defense on first point Hanamura there are a couple of very specific choke points. It looks like Boise State is waiting to show until their scout has come through, actually. Until make sure we see something we like before we come out with it, or we want to know what they are before we go in. And it looks like defending team is spam and Boise State is attacking, just like you thought, Fish.
Yeah, they waited until I don't know if they had a Sombra, or they might have waited until Bay State. Yeah, waited 15 until oh, nice headshot there from Maxwell. We do have, as production let us know, Neb is in this time, though not on the brig that he warned us about. Maybe it was all a bait. Maybe he was lying to us. He's right now on the Mercy, pocketing both Forgotten and Cave, as Abs is going to be the first elimination on that Baptiste. And Boise State still just trying to break through that first checkpoint on Hanamura that can be so oppressive.
We have the double sniper, but they have double shields. So they have shields for both areas that we can try to peek, which is why Maxwell immediately swapped to that Hanzo for the shield break sniper as opposed to Widowmaker, who can't really do much about shields.
Goblin getting a ton of ticks on his dynamite. But you can see Forgotten is nearly double Goblin's percent towards that Bob as Cave does take out Goblin. And Boise State is just at mercy of the Bay State spam right now. Already an Ant Matrix is going to go down from Abs. Large Bagel will get the revive, but Cave's going to get the double. And Boise State is sent back to spawn and has got to come up with a new plan.
Boise State is trying to beat Bay State at their own game, which is spam. We're running almost the mirror spam comp. The only difference is Hanzo versus Echo, so more shield break versus, just general spam. And Boise State, this is something we knew Bay State was going to be very, very good at. I don't think Boise State is going to be able to win the mirror or near mirror spam fight.
Well, Boise State will actually opt for the full mirror as Maxwell will swap over to the Echo. We do get the duplicate from Cave. Going to go onto that Sigma. We got the Valkyrie coming out from both Bagel and Neb as well. Goblin gets a great flank with Bob. Critic Flux does come down from Cave, however, is Goblin now forced to retreat, but Bob doing the rest of the work. At least freeing Boise State from that early spawn hold and sending Bay State back. They'll keep trading, but again, Boise State should have the closer respawns, and unfortunately, that is a team kill for Bay State.
Cave vibe. That was Cave almost soloing the entire Boise State team in their spawn, and because of that team kill, I don't actually know, especially without a Lucio, that Boise State will be able to push this while Bay State is down 3 or 4 members.
I think you're right. I think they are not going to be able to get there in time. We'll see what Boise State can do. They do have an Ant Matrix to try and take care of the high ground, and Cave goes down immediately. But unfortunately, that first blood for Boise State is flipped on them in a hurry. Faded picks up a pair, so do Forgotten and Infernal. And now Boise State is under 60 seconds with Neb getting an easy revive onto Cave.
Kel was unfortunately the last person in there, and so was Staggered. Boise State coming up on both tank ultimates, which could potentially be used to flip this fight, especially with the Ashe. Kel's Gravitic Flux is going to be the ultimate to watch, and Bay State doesn't, as long as Boise State can bait out the Immortality field, Bay State doesn't really have an answer to any sort of gravitic flux that has proper follow-up.
Fortunately, Boise State will lose Goblin. They'll get the revive. There's the Supercharger and the gravitic flux. Kel will be stunned, though, and it looks like no one from Bay State will go down. Bob now for Forgotten coming in, and Bob has had himself quite a match for both teams. Picks up a double kill there, and unfortunately, Boise State will not be able to break through the Bay State spam.
Boise State tried to beat Bay State at their own game, and it did not go the way that we wanted it to. We had a nice fight win. The only fight that we won was outside of our spawn against their spam, and even though we won the fight, we weren't able to push because of it, because we were also team wiped, whereas they were only wiped 4 members, and so both DPS were left to defend the point. Boise State trying to mirror the spam was not in the plans that we had for tonight. That's not what we thought would get us the win against Bay State, and it didn't. Now we're in the point where we have to defend a single tick on first point Hanamura. And if we try to mirror them in spam again, I think it will go similarly.
I was going to say, what comp do you think Boise State needs to pull out here to basically force a draw here on Hanamura?
I think if we want a shot, we want to try some sort of May wall and maul, wall them as they push through sort of thing. We definitely don't want to mirror them on the heroes. We know that they're better at playing together. We definitely don't want to try that again. So I would stay away from Sigma Orisa and go maybe Sigma Reinhardt or something like that.
Well,
the Ashe and the Echo works fine, especially on this map, especially the Echo with the Mercy Pocket. That is a hero combination that can be wielded to great effect, so that's not necessarily bad, but I think we do want the May.
Well, here we go. Looks like Boise State will try for the spam still, while Bay State's got a little bit of a different comp there. They've got the Wrecking Ball in the back line. They've got the Hog Ball. Plus, they've got the Pharah Mercy, which we'll see what Boise State can handle with it, though they do have a decent comp for it. Unfortunately, Forgotten on that Widowmaker with a headshot onto a large bagel is going to make things a little bit more difficult, as that is the worst member for Boise State to most likely lose, just as no one else has a res. As Neb and Cave will get a couple of kills. Boise State more efficiently trading, but unfortunately, one tick was all Bay State needed, and that's all Bay State was able to get as they win that map and go up 2-0 in the series.
If Boise State wants to turn this around, we need to not try to mirror mat, but we also need to respect the Bay State DPS more. We talked about, in the beginning, we talked about Neb because Neb is a 4600 support, but actually the most impactful members of Bay State have been their DPS so far, especially on our support lineup. Boise State is definitely not giving them the respect that they need and giving them the space that they need so that we don't get team wiped.
Well, we saw there, speaking of the DPS, it was Forgotten who ends up picking up the play of the game. Don't forget, the Idaho Army National Guard is a proud supporter of Boise State Esports. Top plays are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your group choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is one of the best teams out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. So Bay State up 2-0 now. Believe we go to Escort, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we do. And quickly, before we go to break, D'Angelo, what map can Boise State maybe lean towards? So we said we had some maps that we really, really liked, and since we have map choice, if you know one that maybe Boise State was planning on, you could spoil the surprise just a little bit here.
On Escort, I have on my spreadsheet that we would want to run something like Havana, but I think, and usually what comes to mind when you think Havana, you think either spam comp or you think sniper comps. And so far, both our spam and our snipers have been kind of like lacking against Bay State.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think we've seen some Boise State teams run a pretty successful first point Havana brawl, so holding right outside the spawn door, and then getting that second fight. Sorry, people are screaming.
Yeah, they're getting pumped.
Players are getting hyped. We're going to reverse sweep.
Easy. It's all in the script.
Yelling on the stage is anything to go by. The energy is there, and honestly, that's half the battle. But Havana is something that we probably want to run, even though it lends itself well to spam. Boise State has a very specific kind of first point brawl that we've seen have a lot of success.
Well, we're going to go to break. We'll be back, see what map 3 is, see if Boise State can start the reverse sweep. It's all coming up. Play versus Collegiate Overwatch right after this break.
NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena, watching our continued coverage of Play versus Collegiate Overwatch. Boise State and Bay State heading into Game 3 on Escort. Currently, Bay State leads the series 2-0. Fish and D'Angelo calling all the action, and we're getting right into it. I believe Dorado is what I was told, and that's what it'll be.
And Dorado is another map, especially on defense, where an Orisa and a Sigma might be able to get a ton of value, but there's also some comps that can be run that we expect to be able to kind of like dance around the Bay State original Orisa Sigma, because Orisa Sigma is not something that generally works on attack for Dorado, and so I do not expect Boise State to try to mirror Bay State again. If they do, I think we would fall into the same mistake that we just made on Hanamura. Boise State typically likes to run a the yelling on the stage.
They're getting hyped.
They're getting hyped. I believe in the reverse sweep. But really, we either want to try to drop on them on this point here. So if Boise State is the defending team on the Reinhardt, we either want to drop on them once they try to get past that choke, or it looks like whoever's defending is setting up for a cheeky little close hold there on the Brig, which could actually end up being Neb there with Boise State on attack.
Yeah, I would assume Bay State probably chose to defend, and you are right. It is Bay State on the defense with Neb going for a cheeky little flank on the Brig. Said it was his favorite hero. We'll see if that can come true or not, as Maxwell almost burns down the Brig. Neb barely alive.
There we go, not for long.
Yeah, Goblin gets the first elimination. Though a large bagel has also brought out the Brig. So both teams with the Brig, a large bagel gets one more elimination, and already Dorado going in Boise State's favor.
This is the sort of comp that Boise State was planning on running against Bay State. The ball, the diva, the very, very mobile, the kind of dance around you, not try to outspam you. I think this is going to be Boise State's best chance at winning because, first of all, Bay State isn't on their strong heroes. They're not on a full spam comp. Now Bay State has kind of moved into Boise State territory. So like Boise State tends to run this comp better than Bay State.
Bay State makes a couple of swaps in the DPS lineup, but nothing else, as Infernal will eat that Orb of Discord. The point just kind of pushing along slowly. Infernal does get an elimination on the Chosen, but will trade out the mech in exchange, and now Boise State will lose a large bagel as well. That is both Broncos supports down, which probably will signify a reset here for Boise State.
Maxwell, are you okay? That was a little bit of... That was an unfortunate reset on the side of Boise State. Plato kind of like getting out. Well, failing to get out, but getting eliminated quickly so that his team can reset. Now Boise State has the ultimate advantage. We really need Gob's Duplicate to be up, like, as soon as possible. And then we can win this next fight.
Who's he looking to duplicate on?
Probably the Ashe. I don't know. After seeing Bob carry some fights last map, I think that would be the best. You could also go Brig if you wanted defensive or to kind of like take the front line up more. Even trade on the support line.
Well, there's the Divas, the end of choice there for Goblin. Probably just wants some zoning, some self-destruct. We get a rally from a large bagel, a minefield kill there for Plato, and after that early reset, Boise State is kind of taking control and is going to get to that first map. We do that first checkpoint. Unfortunately, Infernal will pick up a double kill. One with the Diva Bomb, one outside of it. And now Boise State kind of stuck right as soon as they got that second point. Bay State hops right on top of them. Rally from Neb is going to be used, barely keeping Infernal and forgotten alive by the slimmest of margins. Finally, Infernal is taken out of the mech. Boise State should be able to easily take care of that baby Diva, potentially. I think Infernal does a great job just simply retreating. Now Plato will actually get it at the very last possible moment, unfortunately. Talked about the DPS lines for Bay State popping off. Forgotten gets a double kill. Chosen will get one on to Cabe, however, but Boise State's still kind of stuck in this first point. Looking for a way in. Couple of great headshots there from Chosen onto that Orb of Discord, but it's Forgotten with their third kill of the engagement, and now Boise State's going to retreat.
Eliminate Forgotten, win game, question mark? That definitely seems to be the biggest thorn in Boise State's side currently. Boise State is doing a much better job at cycling and charging their ultimates, however, so I expect the next engage to go similarly to Boise State's last one fight off of the cusp of 3 ultimates.
Well, Boise State unfortunately will start this fight losing Maxo. And we'll see what Boise State can do. Plato has been hanging on by a sliver of HP for the longest time. Cade finally will track down the hamster, and I think Boise State's probably just going to offer a reset here as well.
And I think we started resetting the second Maxwell was eliminated because we knew that that wasn't necessarily our thing. There's the dupe onto the Ashe that was immediately taken out. But let's pretend if Bob was there, he would have gotten a team kill.
Oh, Bob would have definitely been ready for the team kill. There's a Diva Bomb, and that is huge. It's right onto Forgotten, the player you mentioned. A Pulse Bomb kill onto Neb as well.
Oh, Kel wants to live.
And Boise State, Kel trying to hang on in a 1v1 versus Cave. Plato on the other side, trying to push away as Cave does end up going down. Plato gets jumped on by Faded. Will Faded be able to get the minefield off? No, he will not. Boise State can start pushing.
Now Bay State needs to, if Bay State wants to win, they probably want to bob and mines the point simultaneously to get not only get Boise State off of it, but also get that cheeky bob damage. Boise State taking the high ground definitely to their advantage here. We really need to keep it, and especially keep it out of the hands of that Ana.
And no one contesting Abs right now on that other high ground. Infernal and Cave just gang up on the Boise State backline, and unfortunately now Boise State is divided. Plato's going to drop that minefield, try and get some cheeky damage. The rest of Boise State is also up on the high ground. They find Neb kind of all alone. Goblin is able to take down Infernal's mech. There is the Bob that you mentioned. Still waiting on Faded's minefield, however, as Boise State will trade 1-for-1 Abs for Plato. And Boise State right now just trying to sustain on that high ground, taking a ton of damage. Goblin has to run away, and looks like they'll just have to kind of opt for a reset right now up on the high ground.
Boise State does still have the high ground, though. That's very important to their attack. If they gave the high ground to Bay State, it's unlikely they would be able to retake it.
They do lose Kel's mech, and Kel will just simply reset in the spawn. Maxwell does take down Cade. Maxwell's won quite a few of those one-on-one tracer battles. It's a huge pick onto Abs as well.
Sniped.
Potentially Boise State can look to push now that they do have high ground. 30 seconds left, so they do have to get a little bit closer. There's a great minefield down on top of the cart by Faded.
Oh, get him.
Plato takes down Neb, though. Boise State running down. Forgotten. Cade gets a kill onto the back line, however. Plato will go down as well, so Boise State is without a tank. But Chosen does simply not care. He's just getting absolute spam down from that Zenyatta. Boise State's got to start to look to push the payload, though. Infernal's just hanging out in Baby Diva form, sending it backwards. Boise State won all these engagements, but never pushed the payload, unfortunately.
Most of how they were winning the engagements was Chosen and Bagel on the high ground, and if they gave up the high ground, they would kind of give up the entire point. So I understand why the support lineup never moved, but yes, you are right, Fish. It is unfortunate that Boise State is winning all these engagements, but not getting cart.
Gob is unfortunately going to get eliminated, but Forgotten will go down in exchange. They get a great pick onto Abs as well. Again, the high ground just being run up here by a large Bagel and Chosen. Chosen will unfortunately fall off. Has had the Transcendence for quite a while, but there really hasn't been too much damage coming out onto Boise State to pop it. Neb gets taken down. Cave will go down as well, and I think Boise State's going to get a second point here and keep this game going.
And we know that Forgotten's on the Widow now, so hopefully that can stop. Chosen, every time you peek him, I get stressed. I feel my heart rate go up.
There's a very scary peek there. Diva Bomb does come out from Infernal, doesn't find anything. They kill the Diva before the remech. Maxwell absolutely dominating right now, and well, that's an unfortunate setback, but Boise State still pushing the payload along, and they get one right back as well.
Chosen's having the game of his life right now. Forgotten stayed just a second too long to get the elimination onto Bagel, but it got eliminated himself. Both will likely be back, not necessarily in position, but both of them will be back, ready for the next engage. And it looks like Bay State has the high ground, which is not what we're looking for, especially now that there's a Sigma up there. Infernal has swapped over onto the Sigma from, ooh, that's not good.
I think Chosen popped the Transcendence to try and maintain on the high ground. Forgotten, left all alone, coming alive, the DPS player that we have seen so much from for Bay State. As we said, we focus all on the supports, and the DPS for Bay State are the ones doing all the work. 24 seconds left. Boise State probably gets one more fight with the trio of ultimates online, maybe even a fourth.
And Goblin will likely charge his ultimate mid-fight, and Duplicate so far hasn't been very impactful, but I believe that Goblin can turn it around. We've seen Goblin have some huge ultimates before, and especially now with the Sigma there, the potential, he's totally set up. Ooh.
Unfortunately, Faded comes in, gets a double boop off the edge, minefields Kel out of the mech. Plato just trying to keep this game going as long as possible on the Wrecking Ball, trying to stall out for the rest of Boise State's team to get back to the payload. They're just waiting on Goblin to respawn. Plato will go down. We'll see if anyone else from Boise State can get there. Looks like Chosen is there now on the Lucio. But unfortunately, Boise State will just simply run out of bodies, and a nice push. 2 and then some. Going to make it a little bit harder for Bay State, but Forgotten and Cade absolutely popping off at times on that map, but just so was Chosen and Maxwell.
Honestly, the boop from Faded there, Boise State was set up to win that fight. We have the ultimate advantage, and it's just likely that we were going to be able to win that fight. But with that double boop off of the edge, instead of us getting the elimination onto the ball, that definitely secured that and stopped for Boise State from 3-capping. So great job, Faded.
Now we see what Boise State could do defensively. Do you think Bay State's going to come out with their spam, or do you think they're going to come out with something else?
Spam is something that's much harder to run on attack than it is on defense. If they were going to run spam, I expected it to be on defense, but they didn't for the majority of the map. They pulled the Sigma out there at the end, and they stopped us on that point with Infernal and the Sigma. Less because of Infernal's Sigma actions and more because of Faded's ball actions, but still. The sentiment is there. Go spam heroes. Bay State wins. But so if they were going to run spam, it's much less effective on attack. So we see the Diva and the ball there, which is actually something that Boise State is very, very comfortable playing. So like Bay State had the advantage in the spam mirror match, Boise State has the advantage in this dive mirror match.
We'll see what happens. Bay State looking to win this play versus map. Boise State looking to get us back to a game of 4 and keep this series going as Plato up on the high ground gets found out by Faded. They'll trade a little bit of damage, but not too much. It's once again almost a very similar comp for Bay State, which means Forgotten on that Widowmaker is looking to click heads. Plato taking a lot of damage, going to force Faded to roll away. Now gets jumped on by Infernal, who goes over the high ground. Plato will go slamming down, however, right on top of Bay State. Neb taking to about 50%. Cannot be finished off, though. Plato's swing is stopped. Great body block there for Faded and Kel's mech, the first unofficial elimination of this map. Now Maxwell will go down as well. And Boise State will look to try and hold on in a 5v6. Goblin trying to get some spam, getting burned down by Cave. Has to be very careful of where that Widowmaker is as well. Inferno chasing this Echo in midair. The rocket boosters fall off. And that's all that's keeping Goblin alive until he gets shot trying to run away.
Goblin made a valiant effort there, and a genuine attempt was made, but Infernal was out for blood and eventually got that elimination on the Gob.
See Kel right behind Infernal now as Boise State starting to stabilize a little bit. Of course, as I say that, Chosen and Plato will be eliminated. Goblin and Maxwell get one back, though. So does Kel onto Infernal. It's kind of a 3-for-3 trade across the board. But the payload all the while is still pushing. Neb just hanging out doing brick stuff. So despite all these fight wins, as we saw earlier, Boise State not quite able to slow down the objective as much as they'd like, probably.
This is something that both teams have been doing because Bay State has had enough time to push the cart all the way through, but they haven't because they've been doing other things with their dive. Huge! Maxwell, huge!
Less
That is
huge.
less than optimal.
Less huge. Infernal answering the double pulse bomb with the double diva bomb.
But Kel's back.
Kel is back. Goblin is trying to hold on to the point. Kel is as well. There's a great minefield from Play-Doh that is going to take down Infernal. And Boise State might stabilize. Here we get the Transcendence from Chosen. We get the rally from Neb. Unfortunately, Goblin and Kel will both go down. Forgotten now on that Sombra that he played so well on Lijiang is going to help open up Bay State, and they're going to get the first point.
They definitely stalled that out a little bit longer than they probably should have been able to after that initial Diva Bomb double kill. I will say, in the Battle of the Tracers, Maxwell and Cabe, so Cabe has won the Tracer v Tracer 60-40 most of the time. However, Maxwell has had overall more impact in team eliminations, and we see Cabe get the pulse on the kill.
Unfortunately for Boise State, all of this fighting is taking point in the third spawn. So the payload is just free pushing. Something Bay State has done a great job of is pushing Boise State back, making them fight off the objective. Maxwell getting close to another pulse bomb. I don't know if he'll be able to replicate the two-piece on the pulse bomb that he had earlier as Faded gets an elimination onto Play-Doh. Pulse bomb will go down, and unfortunately Maxwell will just have to blink back with nothing to show for it.
And blink back in another day when the odds are more in his favor. Kel, I think, is setting up for a big, probably reset bomb here, just because Boise State does not have a lot of sustain, so that bomb can be...
Maybe even used as a zoning bomb to push people off the point. Unfortunately, Cabe is able to shoot Kel in the back before the remake goes off, and with 4 people on card, Bay State's gonna get to this checkpoint. Maybe held up here for a moment by Play-Doh, throwing down the mines as well, trying to sustain as much as possible. Boise State once again does have the high ground. Chosen will jump down with the Transcendence and just help sustain the Boise State tanks, but that does mean the Broncos will have to give up the high ground, unfortunately. Huge 3-man EMP from Forgotten comes out with the Transcendence on cooldown. Boise State will not have an answer for it. As a large bagel does go down, Faded as well, but it looks like the 2 Boise State tanks are the next targets. Kel and Maxwell instead will fall. Rally from Neb and a sound barrier. Boise State eats through it, but unfortunately Bay State gets the point anyway.
Gob made a valiant effort, I will say there. There were 3 eliminations in that one fight. Gob did a fantastic job. Boise State is in a position to get Bay State off of the card. We have the ultimates to do it, and especially now that Forgotten's down, a large bagel being down is less than optimal. But spawns are in Boise State's favor right now, so Bagel will probably be back faster than Forgotten.
Boise State does not have much more room left to play with. You can see the parking space there for Bay State, which would win them the series.
We just need to get them off once, and then the hold becomes much more comfortable.
Let's see what Boise State can do. Last fight here. If they lose this, it's Bay State's game. The stick goes off, but I don't think it landed. Neb was able to block, I think, some of it with the shield. As Faded is able to get an elimination, Abs immediately rips through that duplicate as Goblin not able to get the remake off. And Transcendence now from Chosen is just simply going to buy time, trying to eat as many mines as possible. Abs did go down. Boise State running out of real estate here. Chosen is going to jump in, throw the kick out.
Maxwell.
Great 2-man EMP from Forgotten as Maxwell was trying to hold. It's all up to Play-Doh, who is going to get hacked, so he's not going to be able to roll around and do wrecking ball things. But Boise State continuing throwing bodies on the point. Got to be careful not to leave it for too long. Infernal does get taken out. Ew! No! Boise State can't quite get back in time. You can see how close Kel was. But in the end, Bay State will be victorious, and they will pick up the series. But Boise State definitely gave them a run for their money on some of these maps.
And I think that was definitely the goal. We knew that this was going to have to be, we knew that that was the biggest boop of the game. Stopped Boise State from getting 3rd point right in their tracks. Great job, Faded. Especially onto the supports, no less.
Yeah, you know, when if you told someone, hey, you're going to get a double boop, they take it any day of the week, and then you say, hey, you get a double boop onto the Boise State support line, you're like, oh, sign me up. So a fantastic job by Faded, a fantastic job by Bay State, and again, as we said, Boise State, some definite positives to take from that match. I mean, Lijiang was incredibly close. I thought Dorado, which was a map that they thought they could have a win over Bay State, I mean, looked like it was going to go their way. If Faded doesn't pull off that double boop, Boise State, as you mentioned, D'Angelo, was in position to win that fight. Well, if you want to apply for the job with the best place to work at Idaho, Idaho Central Credit Union, now hiring for positions like software developer, server administrator, workstation technician, information security intern, and DevOps engineer. Learn more and apply today at www.iccu.com/careers. Bay State will pick up the win, but again, D'Angelo, a lot of good learning opportunities for Boise State and a lot of positive moments as well in this loss.
I think there were definitely some micro plays that led to Boise State's defeat and Bay State's victory, but they were definable. You could definitely look at them and you can definitely fix them. And there was a point where Boise State wouldn't have been able to even go toe to toe with teams like Bay State or teams like Northwood or take maps off of Maryville. But with every time we face one of these teams, we get closer to being able to not just take maps, not just win fights, not just make them uncomfortable or give them a run for their money, but to actually win. Every time it happens, we get closer to being able to do that. And I think tonight it is another good example of that.
And you always talk about Boise State is a learning team, and they'll get another chance at Bay State. Boise State in multiple tournaments, they're in one including ECAC. They'll play Bay State again on Wednesday. So they can take what they learned here tonight, which again, some bright spots, some micro things. I mean, on map 2, it was just alting faster. I mean, things that are learnable. And again, I'm not going to go out and say Boise State's going to win on Wednesday because of this, but I think it would not shock me if Boise State takes one, maybe even a second map off of Bay State because of what they were able to learn today.
I sincerely hope we've learned our lesson at trying to mirror and beat them at the spam. I understand the effort. There was a valiant attempt that was made. That's just not our game. That is very much their territory. And we showed that, on other comps, on the Brawl on the Reinhardt or on the Ball Diva, we showed that we could go toe-to-toe with them on those, but just spam is just something that we're not at their level at yet.
Well, as we prepare to wrap up this game, we do have our ICCU player of the game discussion. I thought several members on Boise State played very well. Is there one that sticks out to you? We'll let you think about that as we do have another interview here coming up from the Bay State side of things. I believe one of their broadcasters will be joining us here in just a little bit. And as we wait for them, I guess Boise State players that you think, again, we'll get to the ICCU player after the interview, but who do you think stood out? Well, maybe not. Sounds like we do have him here. Hey, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, we're not too bad. I mean, we asked the same question to Neb. I'll ask it to you. We got the Boise State view from that series. What was the Bay State view from that series? Of course, probably a little bit happier because you won, but give us the Bay State breakdown from what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, the guys are always preparing for any of the teams in collegiate. They're always practicing. You see them in the arena and everything. So, they came prepared, even though originally I had sent them the wrong team on the schedule. But, it's they still were able to show up and take that 3-0, which is great.
And we understand that you're a broadcaster for Bay State. That's what we were told?
I am the assistant director, so
also the assistant.
Not
okay,
necessarily
fantastic.
a broadcaster, but I've been doing a lot of the production for the kids just as we're getting our production students ready to kind of start our own production with the program. So we've been working really hard with that, but just having a little bit of background with that too, it helps.
What does that take from you as the assistant director to get all of those ready to do these big production things that you would like to do?
I mean, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of man hours, it takes a lot of bodies and everything. Just teaching people that may not have that production background but may be interested in working in production, how to use Photoshop, how to use After Effects, how to use Premiere, how to use Streamlabs, right? How to use any of those different types of programs, setting up the initial inputs so that, you're not I can hear the production background from you guys and not on stream, which is fantastic to hear. So, always nice to see those things that people don't necessarily get to look at.
And give us a peek behind the curtain in the grand scheme of things on the production side. I mean, debut date for Bay State. I mean, when do you think you'll have everything up and running and be able to do everything that you're hoping to do?
Man, I mean, everything you're hoping to do.
That's 2050. I'll be honest. I feel you there.
That's That's a good estimate. We'll go with that estimate. No. But doing where we want to be. I mean, we're chugging along exactly where we want to be, and we're moving at a pace where we're working. So.
And sometimes that's the best thing you can do. I mean, it took Boise State several years to set up all of the things that you were talking about and to get all of our amazing production talent that we are so blessed with. But And you guys are trying to do a very similar thing, and you absolutely will. It just, like you said, takes time, manpower, and bodies.
Yep. Exactly.
And what else do you do with Bay State? I know you said you're the assistant director. You're working on the production side. What do you do with the Overwatch team? I know you said you sent them the wrong team. Are you kind of involved in scouting or anything like that? I mean, we appreciate it, by the way. We appreciate the help. But what else do you do for Bay State?
Yeah, I mean, I work with all the recruits, bringing in students for the program. I work with some of the particular teams that I have my own backgrounds in. So I have backgrounds with League of Legends, Hearthstone, Smash Brothers. So I work specifically with those students. I work with, setting all the schedules for the students, making sure that the arena room is working as it should be, working with our IT department, and working with all the different entities at the school. So everything that you can imagine Doc is doing over at Boise, I'm doing it as well.
Doing right, I mean, you guys can't see, but right next to me right now with his headset on and his little mask, just hunched over the computer. So,
Yes.
You said that you did a little bit of scouting for Boise State. What were you expecting to come out of tonight?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the players are similar to when we played against them in the past. So I used to be the director over at Johnson & Wales University, so we played you guys a couple of times. So we knew a little bit of the strategy, a little bit of the heroes that Boise likes to play, so we kind of worked with that. And I mean, a lot of the times if you talk to these students, they're like, oh, Goblin, yeah, I know him from solo queue. He plays like Torbjorn, right? Like, or he used to be a Torbjorn one trick. So, you talk to the kids and they're like, oh yeah, no, I play against him, he plays this. Oh, I play against him, he plays this. So they get to help you, but mostly that's the head coach's job, which Tensa for our team. He does a lot of the scouting and a lot of the help work for that, so.
And you said you work with the League of Legends team, the Hearthstone team, the Smash team. I mean, we know a lot about Bay State. Again, it was an Overwatch night. But what else does Bay State have? I mean, talk to us a little bit about how the other teams that you are in charge of in particular look. Because, we only get to see programs like Bay State when we play them on our schedule, which isn't all the time. So tell us about some of the teams you're coaching and how they're doing in their respective tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, Smash Brothers is one of the top teams in the country right now. They just barely lost against one of the top three teams, crew teams. This past night, Hearthstone ended up finishing up there in the top of the nation. They're currently ranked like 5th for NACE. They're currently in the top like 20 for the Battleground, stuff like that. League of Legends, they've had really good showings over at a couple of the LANs. They had a good showing at HughFest. They had a good showing at ISU's LAN event. We've also have Rocket League, who, Rocket League and Northwood White, those are basically 1 and 2 in the country right now. So we ended up beating them in the CRL East Conference Finals, but we unfortunately fell to them after 2 back-to-back best of 7s and 2 back-to-back best of 9s.
Oh my goodness!
In the EG tournament. So that was a little bit heartbreaking and a really long night for the guys, but they earned their keep that day, but they did get a bracket reset on that as well. And
nice.
That's the 2 back-to-back best of 9s. So,
that's so much Rocket League.
It was a lot of Rocket League. So they're doing a really good job. But yeah, all of our teams, at Bay State are some of the top teams in the country, and you see their names a lot when you look at those top 10s. You see their names looking at these tournaments a lot. So even I know you guys talked about ECAC, and we play you on Wednesday.
Yep.
We have 4 losses across the 7 teams in ECAC.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
We're pretty happy with that. So.
And Bay State's one of those teams that, every time a poll gets released, we look at Boise State, we look for our names. I mean, you guys are usually, as we talked about, right above us. You're in that top 5 range. We're in that 6 through 10. So we always are tracking you guys. D'Angelo, any final questions before we let him go? Because he's a very busy man, apparently. He's got like best of 9 Rocket Leagues to deal with, so we don't want to keep him too long.
So you have a lot of talent in a lot of different games. Where do you find that? Or how do you find that?
I mean, can't give away all the secrets, but
That's
it's
fair.
a lot of work, right? I mean, especially with Smash, it's like that's a big game that I've been recruiting for. We have Drake, who's a big with League of Legends, so we have people who are scouting our individual talents. COD is looking to be fantastic for the spring as well. And it's just, going out there and really figuring out where are these tournaments happening, where are those individuals happening, like, where are they conversing and where are they, all ending up, and then you just reach out to them, right? What's the worst someone's going to say is no. What are they going to do? Block you on Discord? Yeah, okay, fine. Then you just go and you talk to the next person, right? It's casting that wide net as best as you can and seeing what you catch. So.
Well, I really appreciate you joining us. Hopefully ECAC, at least from our perspective, goes a little bit differently. I know you would be pleased with the same result, but every time we play Bay State, it's a ton of fun. It's almost like a coast-to-coast rivalry. But thanks again for joining us, and you guys are doing great things, and I can't wait to see your production side of things, because if it matches what you guys have on the field, it's going to be absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks again for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely love playing Bay State. They have, as he alluded to, they have so many talented players across so many games. And it is almost every single poll. I feel like I look, Koba will let me know, hey, there's a new poll for NACE or whatever for this game, and I'm like, there's Boise State. There's Bay State. And sometimes they're right next to each other. Sometimes Bay State has a bit of a lead on us. Sometimes we've jumped over Bay State for a week or two. I know we've gotten them a couple times, I think, in League of Legends, but absolutely love playing them. Huge shout out to them. Hopefully ECAC goes a little bit differently. But again, as we talked about D'Angelo, Boise State is making improvements. They're making strides against these teams. And now we have our accolades, our ICCU player of the game. And a couple people come to mind, but I'll let you pick first.
I want to say Chosen on the Zenyatta specifically.
Yeah.
I think that was absolutely, you could definitely make a highlight. Chosen definitely has a highlight reel tonight on the Zenyatta. We were expecting a lot from the Bay State support lineup.
Yeah.
And so we were expecting Chosen to have to kind of rise to that. And I actually think that Chosen was one of the most notable supports to watch, making big plays, doing big things. And of course, you can always talk about either Goblin or Maxwell with their exceptional DPS play. Goblin wasn't quite getting the ultimate value that we needed to see tonight, but he was getting the elimination value.
Yes.
So not too much to complain about, honestly, because as a DPS, that is your job. And it looks like it will be Maxwell, who is always a safe bet. And we see him on the Symmetra, who's one of the main people of a Sim Brawl, very, very important. And the Sim Brawl was something that we did amazing at, and it was in no small part due to Maxwell.
Yeah, I thought on Dorado, Maxwell played phenomenally
Yes.
as well. I mean, it was kind of like the Chosen Maxwell highlight reel, right? Like, Chosen had the high ground, Maxwell's popping off on the Tracer, but again, both these players are freshmen. So, I mean, it's great to see that Boise State, we talked about Bay State's recruiting. Boise State has some talented players that just have come in. I know they have a couple of talented players on the horizon as well.
Did you see that Sim beam?
That was
follow the
fantastic.
Diva as she flipped out of her mech? That was really, really nice. Maxwell is a player that has insane tracking. That's why he's on these heroes like Tracer, because he doesn't get disoriented by the constant moving around and is able to track those enemies no matter where they are or where he is positioned relative to him.
Yep.
But Maxwell also is usually our sniper person, so in addition to being able to track successfully, he's also able to flick. And that's just amazing. I think Maxwell is I have been told, and as we can see, Maxwell is one of the most mechanically skilled players on the whole Boise State team.
Yeah, Maxwell and Chosen have been phenomenal, and it's going to be great to see them grow and improve and work more with Boise State. Because, again, this is their first semester here.
Freshmen.
They're trying to work out, the kinks. I'm sure there's some headbutting going on as you go from high school to collegiate. So it's been a ton of fun to see them. Again, congratulations, Maxwell. You're our ICCU player of the game. Idaho Central Credit Union believes a great player makes the team more successful, just like they're helping members achieve financial success. Maxwell, your ICCU player of the game against Bay State. Well, as we prepare to close out this match, we've still got more Overwatch coming up. Do you have any final thoughts on what Boise State did against Bay State and what they can take going into their match Wednesday to have a different result, maybe pick up a couple maps or two?
We're always learning, and we know what we do well, and we know what they do well.
Yep.
It's not usually why it's not wise to try to beat somebody at their game. What Boise State excels at and what we saw the bright points at were when Boise State forced them to play in our ball court. So when we forced them to play ball diva, or when we made them come at us for the brawl on the 6-man. Those were they said that they were comfortable, and they said that was something that they run a lot, but not to the same comfort level that they run spam, because they're known for that, right? Forcing them to do these things that they're not as comfortable on, especially the dive, that's how Boise State is going to win. Not coming into their turf and trying to stack up.
Yeah, again, as you said, bright spots for Boise State. Again, probably you don't want to mirror somebody, because I think the Bay State spam, it is next level, as you mentioned. But there were some bright spots. I think Dorado is going to be that map they'll look at a lot and say, That made sense. How do we make them uncomfortable? But
Yes.
we will take a quick break. We're going to give you our top 5 presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs, offering a $20,000 bonus and your groove choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is one of the best teams out there. You can reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Nace, Boise State 0-1 undefeated. They're the number 1 seed. They'll play Grand Canyon to be the top of their group. We'll see if Boise State can remain completely spotless in Nace. Here's your top 5. We'll take a break, but don't go anywhere. We've got more Overwatch coming up right after this.
I dropped it. But let's pretend if Bob was there, he would have gotten a team kill.
Oh, Bob would have definitely been ready for the team kill. There's a Diva Bomb, and that is huge. It's right onto Forgotten, the player you mentioned. A Pulse Bomb kill onto Neb as well.
Oh, Kel wants to live.
And Boise State, Kel trying to hang on in a 1v1 versus Cave, or not, as Maxwell almost burns down the Brig. Neb barely alive.
There we go, not for long.
Yeah, Goblin gets the first elimination. Though a Large Bagel has also brought out the Brig. So both teams with the Brig, a Large Bagel gets one more elimination, and already Dorado going in Boise State's favor.
This is the sort of comp that Boise State was
Round. 30 seconds left, so they do have to get a little bit closer. There's a great minefield down on top of the cart by Faded.
Oh, get him.
Plato takes down Neb,
Oh,
though.
get
Boise
him.
State running down.
Big.
Forgotten. Cade gets a kill onto the back line, however. Plato will go down as well, so Boise State is without a tank. But Chosen does simply not care.
Or do something like that. Or they could just win the brawl in this room. Bait Bay into this room.
Well, there they go into the room. We are going to see the Infernal Bomb will come out for Bay State. It only takes down the mech. We get a nice 2-man shatter, a sound barrier as well, but it comes out from Macon. And unfortunately, a boop off the edge at Bay State. Well, Boise State will actually opt for the full mirror as Maxwell will swap over to the Echo. We do get the duplicate from Cave. Going to go onto that Sigma. We got the Valkyrie coming out from both Bagel and Neb as well. Goblin gets a great flank with Bob. Gravitic Flux does come down from Cave, however, is Goblin now forced to retreat, but Bob doing...
Welcome to the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. You're watching our coverage of NACE Collegiate Overwatch. Boise State looking to pick up a win tonight in Week 9 of NACE play against Grand Canyon University. My name is Jacob Jem Palmer, joined by Colby D'Angelo Alloway. It's nice to be back here at D'Angelo. I admit probably a little bit underdressed from my perspective, but Fish just needed a break, had a very long day casting yesterday, so just a quick little sub in to give him some much needed rest. But who's not going to rest is Boise State, especially Grand Canyon University, because I understand, D'Angelo, Boise State has already played this team.
The grind never stops for Boise State. Boise State has played Grand Canyon Union University. Words are hard. And we actually did come out victorious there. And there was a little bit of smack talking involved on the side of Grand Canyon University, I believe, if memory serves correctly. So that win just felt a little bit extra special. And unless Grand Canyon is able to seriously really get it together, this is a match that Boise State is favored in. We weren't favored in our past match, but we are favored in this one. So it's always good to end the night on a victory, and a victory is what Boise State expects to get, but we will have to work for it because we had to work for it before, too.
Right, and let's take a look at the circumstances of which Boise State finds themselves in working toward that victory. In NACE Overwatch, a different lineup in stages than we had for Play versus just now. It's still best of 5, but now it's Control, Hybrid Escort, Assault, and Control. And first map is chosen by the higher seed. Last team, the team that loses, chooses the last map. So much less of a possibility we're going to see Assault. I think that everyone is more happy about that. And Boise State looking pretty good overall in this NACE season. But the thing that isn't going to be changed from Play Versus is the starting out stage, Legion Tower, which we know very well.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. That was the first map when we went against them beforehand, and so I am not surprised in the slightest to see Lijiang for a couple of reasons. One, it's our comfort map that we always run on Control. We have very specific strategies that we run on Control, and also it's what worked for us last time against Grand Canyon University, and Boise State has no reason to believe that we need to do anything super different.
Well, before we jump into the match, we want to just do a quick couple of pointers for the Broncos brought to us in Doc's Keys to the Game. Doc's Keys to the Game is brought to you by Drop-In Gaming and Overwatch. That's to understand your comp and play style, focus on each fight, get good ultimate value, and remember, the objective is more valuable than any sort of kills you get. Those Doc's Keys to the Game brought to you by Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers to seek competition, play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. To begin your competitive gaming journey, sign up at dropingaming.com. We are also going to take a quick look at the lineup, just who Boise State's standard opening lineup is. At this time, it's brought to you by Count. Count Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables personalized customer experiences more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. Alrighty, so we see the opening lineup. Plato, Cal, Gob, Maxwell, Chosen, and Large Bagel. But of course, Boise State has a large pool of Overwatch players, so any of those could be changed out at any time. But the interesting thing about Legion Tower that I'm looking forward to, at least, D'Angelo, is that we haven't seen any Night Market. That was not one of the three that was brought up. We got Tower and Gardens. So I want to see some Night Market because I always love seeing that initial Symmetra race that happens after it. And Boise State is so immaculate at it.
Boise State, one of Doc's keys to the game is knowing your comp and knowing your role in that comp, and everybody knows what they need to do in the sim comp. Boise State knows, and most teams know what Boise State's win condition is with the Symmetra comp, but few teams are able to subvert it, so it doesn't really help you a ton if you know but can't subvert. And Boise State's goal on the Symmetra here is just as it would be on Night Market: teleport, get to the point faster than other people, and then brawl on point.
Well, here we go. Boise State looks like they're going to still be in the red like we saw last time for Play Versus. They are already to the point, so doing that Symmetra teleport just as we were talking about. And looks like they are going to set themselves up to defend here. We see Gob taking a few shots right now at Pinnacle. He's going to try to fan the hammer on that Diva, get her out of her mech. Right now, Gob is going to pick up the first onto their Dawn. Great first pick. A lot of healing gone for Grand Canyon, and that's just going to force them to go back. Just one pick and they retreat.
Gob had excellent crosshair placement there, right at head level of most heroes, because you couldn't even see the Moira in that little kind of conglomerate of the Overwatch heroes, but because his crosshair was placed exactly where it had to be, he got the headshot and the immediate elimination onto the Moira with the Cole Cassidy.
Here we go. Grand Canyon University going to take a much less open route this time and try to power through with that Coalescence. Look at all those skulls there from the Deadeye. Oh, my heart skipped a beat. But some good old-fashioned eliminations Gob will be happy with, too. Taking out Flamehead. Pinnacle also taken out of their mech. With Grand Canyon University's tanks in trouble. Pinnacle falling off the edge there. That's going to be another reset for him.
As we pan away from the Gob spy hunt over there, Grand Canyon University, that spy hunt was actually very important because Sweet Potato is sitting on that EMP, and if there's going to be something that breaks Boise State's hold, it's going to be that. Though it is likely a large Bagel will be able to charge Sound Barrier before Sweet Potato has the opportunity to use an EMP in a way where people can follow it up, we will need to watch. Bagel and Sweet Potato. We'll need to watch the snacks, if you will.
Well, they're going to use that EMP to disable some of those sim turrets there so they can get more of a presence on the point, but as soon as Boise State's ultimates are back available to them, Boise State uses 3 at once. That is quite an environmental, though. A double onto Bagel and Gob with that Primal Rage, but it's still not enough to phase the Broncos as Maxwell coming in clutch there with a double, still maintaining the point and pushing it past that crucial 80% mark.
It's a triple environmental if you count the self-destruct that was there as he jumped off the map, bringing Bagel and Gob with him.
Well, the Photon Barrier is going to be thrown down by Maxwell, making this an even harder point to take for Grand Canyon University. All they have is a Coalescence and a Prayer at this point.
Almost another EMP, though, and that might be their prayers answered.
Well, we'll have to see if Sweet Potato is picked. He has a 6-person EMP onto every member of the Broncos. Plato's going to fall victim to that self-destruct. Can Boise State gain their presence back on the point? They use the self-destruct to gain a little space for themselves as Maxwell and Gob push back onto the point, and just like last time, they're the ones to go in clutch for Boise State and just keep the presence. And it looks like that's gonna use it right on Flamehead, solo ult him, and end it 100-0.
A little bit of a well-deserved emote there, sitting on the point. Okay, Gob,
and a well-deserved nap.
Off. That was the Gob show with Maxwell accompaniment there. Sweet Potato. The EMP was their prayer, and Sweet Potato landed it. That was onto all 6 people, and people could have followed up on it, except Goblin decided to toggle the metaphorical aimbot. Not that he uses any of that, he's just good. But he just decided, now is my time to shine. I'm gonna get so many eliminations. The EMP doesn't even matter, and that's what we expect out of Goblin.
I love how when he was using the Deadeye, it's if to say, that's a nice shield you've placed down, Winston. You take one step outside of it.
And then Winston jumped out of it at him, which maybe I am just incapable of that 5-head thinking.
Well, with how Gob did last time, it looks like he's going to go onto the Reaper, get someone from way above, already pick up a double.
Reaper's a sniper?
I know, Reaper aerial play is the meta that we have not seen unfold. Gob is creating it for us right before our eyes. And I just have to say, oh, he's going to go into the trap, though. He's going to find himself in the Junkrat trap. Maybe just a bit too much celebration from him, but it's not going to phase him. He's still at full health, and Boise State makes space for themselves after taking the point.
Likes to do is single-handedly create new metas. The Reaper high ground meta, that's what we'll call this one. Gob Reaper high ground meta, except now there's no high ground for him to abuse. So now Gob might be looking for ways to get behind the enemy team.
Yeah.
Grand Canyon, if they want to break this, an amplification matrix will probably get them space, but not necessarily eliminations.
And 3 ultimates. Yep, 3 ultimates used at once for Grand Canyon University. Plato just gets a huge shot right onto them through the amp matrix. Is going to tear into them. Sweet Potato, the only sweet thing about Grand Canyon University right now. And Q-Tip is also going to be, has he managed to escape? It looks like he might, or else Boise State is pushing a huge stagger on us. He escaped.
Plato is the price. Plato's the price, but I think that's a reasonable price to pay for winning the fight, especially because Kel is there with an alternative tank. Now we need to really watch this junk tire that's going to get immediately destroyed. Gob, no, and of course it's Sweet Potato that's the one to do it. Sweet Potato is definitely the one to watch for Grand Canyon University.
And right as Gob used the Death Blossom, I can only imagine Gob's just feeling so amazing right now that he thought, you know, I just want to go for the complete backline Death Blossom, wipe them all out, and he paid the price for that. Right now, Grand Canyon University still unable to push onto the point as Plato and Kel doing great work as the tanks, taking them all out and forcing another reset.
Gob using the teleporter as an engage, showing why that's not the best way to get value out of that ability, because he's immediately punished by Azwar.
And there goes a Gravitic Flux there, right onto Kel, but it isn't going to face him too much. But Sweet Potato and the Junkrat both getting two members of Boise State chosen and Plato falling there. Maxwell's going to throw out the Proton Barrier, trying to get a bit more of a presence back onto the point. But Grand Canyon is just charging towards them right now, is able to take out Maxwell. They're also going to get a bit more survivability from Q-Tip using that Sound Barrier. But Boise State is going to have so much. Plato just using that Shatter immediately. Kind of a bigger hop than usual for that Shatter, but it's not really going to do anything as Sweet Potato takes him out right now. I think Boise State just needs to get a bit more organized.
We saw a lot of ultimates used to great effect and a lot of ultimates used under questionable circumstances. But now Grand Canyon has the advantage because not only do they have the shield and another tire, but they also almost have an amplification matrix which could push Boise State back through the doorway. Boise State, what we're looking for is a huge Gravitic Flux on the side of Cal, which there it comes.
Yep, already gotten two members. Whoa, what a rip! What is it with the rip tires tonight? Boise State cannot keep an eye on them, and they just get shredded with a triple.
That's what we call an immediate rip tire, because he just, as soon as the ult was out, he detonated it, and those are often the most successful rip tires because they don't have a travel time and they don't give the enemy the time to, like, destroy it. And that definitely was playing to Grand Canyon's win condition.
Right now, Boise State, you know, I think they're just being a little bit too gun-ho with these ultimates. I don't know if they're just being a little bit too overconfident here in their gameplay, but they're not playing quite as organized as I am used to seeing them. Grand Canyon is going to still maintain their position on the point with the help of that Sound Barrier. Cal gets punched right in the face. There goes the Death Blossom trying to be used by Gob, and it's not going to tear through the Rhine Shield at all. That didn't work out.
Can't tear through both the Rhine Shield and the Immortality Field, but Maxwell's going to tear through Sweet Potato.
And again, there's the Sound Barrier just used right at the very moment. Now Gob is going to make a swap onto the Junkrat here, but that mine is going to take out Maxwell, and that is not a time when Boise State wanted to be picked on. They need to engage at full strength now. That is able to even it out. Plato with the nice flame strike there, taking out the Junkrat. Plato trying to get back on the point. Overtime counter ticking down. They need to contest, and they are able to do that just now. Boise State fighting back to get the victory here. Whoever wins this fight wins the match. Kel and Plato, 2 eliminations onto Sweet Potato and Flame there, with Pinnacle also falling. The front line gone for Grand Canyon University. I would say the Broncos have earned back their victory, but another rip tire is just going to prove to Boise State that that Junkrat's a force to be reckoned with.
Cal's the price, but ultimately a small price to pay for winning that.
Well, if you want to apply for a job with the best place to work in Idaho, then look to Idaho Central Credit Union. They're now hiring for positions like software developer, server administrator, workstation technician, information security intern, and DevOps engineer. Learn more and apply today at www.iccu.com/careers. And find out if you want to join their team. Well, Boise State already toward a great start, although I do have to be a bit more concerned about just how they were playing in that second match. It seemed like they might have just, I don't want to get into their heads too much, but it seemed like there was a little bit more of an overconfident play style, as it doesn't seem they were coordinating their ultimates too well.
I'll get in your head. I'll get in their heads for you. They were having a little too much fun there, as Boise State is known to do occasionally. We'll give them a map, and then if we decide that we can play Reaper from the high ground, we go ahead and do that. And I mean, you can't really complain too much because it was successful, but that attitude is something that does hurt us against higher elo teams, and we've been punished for. But I I don't know that tonight is going to be the night where we're punished for that. So I think it might be safe for people to play whatever they want, even if it's off meta, have a little bit more fun than they usually would, especially after everything it took to go against Bay State.
Well, Boise State is going to have a little bit of a chance to reset, go into the second match. We're going to take a little bit of a break and be back with round 2 in NACE Collegiate Overwatch after this.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Welcome back to the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. You're watching our coverage of NACE Collegiate Overwatch. We just saw the Broncos get a win on Map 1. Losing team now has map choice on Hybrid. I'm your host, Jacob Jem Palmer, joined by Colby D'Angelo Alloway. I was about to ask you, D'Angelo, what map we might see on Hybrid, but then I saw that it's Hybrid, which means most likely 95% of the time we're just going to see one map, which Boise State is very comfortable with.
Which is actually not a good idea for Grand Canyon University to pick. It's not a good. The map we're talking about is Kings Row, for those of you who are not regulars here on cast.
Who haven't seen 1 second of Overwatch.
It's actually the map that is going to benefit them the least, because it's the map that is going to benefit Boise State the most. And as we saw in Map 1, Boise State definitely does not need any more things working in their favor tonight.
Well, they're tempting fate.
Don't say we didn't warn you, because this is definitely a map that Boise State is comfortable on. We have specific strategies for. This is the map that we go to if we really need a win, and it's just been picked for us.
Well, yeah, and the thing that makes it really strong for Boise State is, of course, their ability to run such an effective brawl comp.
Absolutely. The May Wall and Mall Brawl comp, I mean, Boise State runs the Sim Brawl to great effect, right? So it's likely that we will be able to run another variant of Brawl. We were struggling a little bit with the Junkrat, but Junkrat isn't nearly as good on this map as he is Control Room of Lijiang, because he's like kind of top tier control room Lijiang. He can just lock you in a hallway and you don't get to go there if they have a Junkrat. Junkrat is not going to have that same effectiveness on Kings Row, but May will, and Boise State sure has a lot of comfortable May players, namely Maxwell and Frost.
Yeah, we might be able to see some sort of rotation into the team. I know on these kinds of matches, you know, it's not just the heroes that are kind of swapped out, but often the players are given. Yep, and there we saw.
Just as you're talking, we have the Nerdy Bird swapped in. We can do some of these switches. We can experiment with new comps. We can kind of have fun. We can switch people in and out. We can do. What I am surprised to see is we don't have a May, and that's likely because we wanted to put Nerdy Bird in on the Mercy as opposed to either Frost or Maxwell on the Mei, which is why Gob is on the Pharah. But Grand Canyon does have a Mei, and that could be detrimental to Boise State. So but we don't have a Reinhardt to kind of like fall prey to that Mei. So we really will need to watch the kind of DPS matchup here.
Well, looks like Grand Canyon is going to take an indoor route here, not wanting to poke their heads outside at all.
Fair enough.
And yeah, it looks like one of them poked. Oh no, they're going to still go up this hallway. Okay, I thought they weren't going to go up those stairs here, but they want to try to keep under as much cover as possible. It looks like they're just going to go all the way around the point. But that doorway is going to spell certain doom for them, especially since they've taken so long to get to the point. That's just allowed Gob to charge up this barrage, which makes it even more ugly for when they push onto the point. There it goes. He already picks up a double. Sweet Potato had the idea, but took him out after that double already came through. And there goes Play-Doh and Maxwell also taking out the rest of the members onto Grand Canyon. That's not even going to be one tick for him.
It's also extremely resable. That is an extremely resable, especially after the fight is already won. It doesn't look like we're going to go for that, perhaps because of some sort of swap. We're not going for the res, maybe? But it looks like Gob's staying on the Pharah. And he's already back, so, I mean, there we go. Grand Canyon University sunk a lot of time into a lost push, and honestly, going indoors made a lot of sense. Good job as work.
It made sense. The only problem was that they took so much time that Gob just already had his barrage charged.
They took so much time and gave Gob so much poke, and Gob also has that hard Mercy pocket, so it's expected for Gob to charge Valkyrie much faster than normal, but ultimately trying to wipe Boise State off the high ground was the play and is something Grand Canyon will have to do if they'd like to win this.
Well, I don't. It seems like the play arena has been turned around completely as Grand Canyon goes in through the archway, which we normally don't see as an attack strategy, but they want to take some extreme flanks here. And with a double by their Dawn, it looks like they have managed to get a presence on the point. Already going past one tick. Maxwell is able to take Pinnacle out of their mech, but right now it is just too much of a disadvantage for Boise State to push back onto the point. Such a long distance back to that point with the Mei wall, I don't think they're going to get there in time.
They do get there for a contest, and they actually win this fight off the tails of the rocket barrage with a double kill.
Okay, I guess I was thinking, I guess I was not thinking in terms there. That is an ace picked up by Boise State. I just wasn't adding Gob to the equation. Once I add Gob, it completely flips.
This is a comp that Boise State is less comfortable on running than the Mei Brawl, but we have the luxury of experimentation right now, and it's definitely working. So perhaps this is something Boise State could add to their main roster of plays, playing spam on the high ground. But Grand Canyon, I cannot emphasize it enough, trying to sweep Boise State off and going high ground, going the really, really long push, that is how they deal with spam. They just can't counter Gob.
Maxwell throws out that Dragon Strike. It's going to pick up their Dawn, actually. I wasn't expecting that, but Gob still doing great work on this Pharah, getting a double there with only 13 seconds. I don't know if Grand Canyon, I don't even see them swapping over a Wrecking Ball just trying to get this. They're probably going to use the Lucio Speed Boost to try to get through here. They're going to throw out the bomb to get them some more space. Isn't going to get anybody. They are able to pick off Gob, though, which if there's one pick that you want, kinda, then taking Gob out is definitely going to cement their position back onto this point here. They continue by taking out Nerdy Bird and Cal, and there you go. I guess once you pick off Gob, you've got the point.
Eliminate Gob, win game. That's Grand Canyon's win condition. Because as I touched on before, trying to go the high ground and sweeping Boise State spam off of the high ground before you push is actually the play. Grand Canyon is doing the correct things. They just hadn't been able to get the elimination on the Gob before now, and now that they have, they were able to push guard. I mean, that's kind of how this is going to have to work for Grand Canyon, because that's just how a hard-pocketed Pharah functions, especially one as capable as Gob.
Thing is, the only thing that they're going to have here is a Shatter. Once that Gravitic Flux goes out, that is going to clear the way. They duck indoors yet again, but looks like one of them still got caught up in that gravitic flux right now. They're also going to have to be aware of Gob, who is respawned and is out for blood. But with the defensive matrix, he's not going to get any right now. It looks like the Valkyrie and the Amp Matrix is thrown down. A boop onto Kel is going to finish him out. Supercharger also used by Boise State. If nothing else, they are managing to bleed quite amount of time off of Grand Canyon's timer. Chosen taking out Pinnacle. And Grand Canyon's still struggling a little bit to push the payload forward.
And that is another extra impressive thing about Gob. Gob is doing most of this on relatively like unpocketed flanks. This is mostly just a Gob show. I mean, as we're watching as he eliminates the Baptiste and goes through. If you're Grand Canyon, you really need to eliminate Gob before you can push or win the fight or, I mean, do much of anything, really. Or an alternative that Grand Canyon could do is they could just blow through the front line with the Mei, because now we have a Reinhardt that you could potentially abuse with that Mei. But no matter how you slice it, we really need to get value out of either the Mei Blizzard or the Deadeye. And Deadeye usually isn't an ultimate that you can get a lot of value of, especially against double shield. But when you have aerial targets, namely Gob and Nerdy Bird, Deadeye can potentially get a lot of value. So all eyes are on the Grand Canyon DPS this next fight.
Wow. Gob just steps out trying to get that barrage, is instantly eliminated by their Dawn. The thing is, though, is none of them are on the payload. They might not even be able to get there in time. Are they going to be able to? Boise State manages to hold them with a huge shatter there. But is there going to be a follow-up? They're done. Grand Canyon uses everything to get back onto the point.
Let's all press Q.
Wow. Well, it worked. The match still goes on.
That's usually how pressing 5 Qs works, I will say that. They played to both of their win conditions. They eliminated Gob on a cheeky flank, but they also all pressed Q. And while none of those individual 5 Qs got a ton of value, 5 of them together was enough to cap first point.
Gob is going to throw down his Amp Matrix, Chosen throws down the Amp Matrix, helping Gob. Look, he just ducks right down into that doorway, takes out Sweet Potato instantly.
That was a nice Mei wall, blocking off everything Kel had to offer. Now the ultimate to watch is Kel's Gravitic Flux from the high ground, likely as an engage.
We're going to see. He's trying to find how many people he can get with it. There's only 30 seconds left, so one more full team fight. And look at that! He gets just about every one of them there. They throw down the Immortality Field in response, as well as an Amp Matrix. But Maxo and Plato just tear right through them, taking out Flamehead, and they're down. Maxo also eliminating Sweet Potato. I don't know if Grand Canyon is going to have the time to push back. Boise State is going to try to make as much time as they can, pushing right up to their doorway. And Maxo's going to have a great chance to just stall him out even further with the Deadeye.
Grand Canyon isn't getting the value that they need out of the Mei. Most of their walls have been defensive after the team has already been eliminated, and that's not how you play Mei to great effect on Kings Row.
He gets a double. Sweet Potato gets a double with their Deadeye, but a huge barrage, at least a triple for Gob, is going to end their journey there.
And now Gob's just kind of coming in with that last one there.
Cleaning it up, just sweeping up the last bit of debris, and Boise State holds Grand Canyon.
Boise State holds Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon should probably, at this point, get off of the Mei. They've had almost a quarter points there, and the Mei has not gotten a ton of value with either walls or Blizzard, so at this point it might be time to switch to perhaps another hit scan, because we're struggling with Gob so much. That might be on the Grand Canyon playlist if they would like to win and to kind of keep Gob at bay, as it were. Because Gob is definitely playing very aggressively in a position that could easily be taken advantage of by perhaps a Widowmaker.
Well, we'll have to see. I don't know how good Grand Canyon's hit scan is, though, is the one thing.
Sweet Potato is definitely popping,
I mean, yeah,
as a creep,
yeah.
But having Gob with the Mercy Pocket, that just kind of like a solo Cole Cassidy is not going to be able to do much against that, right? Because a good Pharah is going to stay kind of out of Cole Cassidy's effective range. And especially with that pocket, you're not going to be able to poke the Pharah down. You can perhaps make the Pharah play less aggressive, but that doesn't seem to, less aggressive does not seem to be in Gob's vocabulary tonight.
We'll see what Boise State decides to do here. It's been a while since we've seen a Statue of Liberty from them. I doubt we would see anything quite that cheeky, but it looks like Maxwell's going to be bringing out the Widowmaker, trying to get an initial pick here. We'll see how that works. Boise State still sticking on the far mercy. Maxwell's actually swapped over to the Genji. I don't see him too often nowadays. We'll see how well Maxwell can do right now. Here we go. Grand Canyon still maintaining control of the point, but Plato is getting right up in their faces as Gob tries to get some sort. He's just pelting them with a lot of damage, but still not getting any sort of pick. Sweet Potato almost eliminated there, but just by making their way onto the point, Boise State is already halfway towards their first tick. Gob getting so much ultimate charge right now, getting closer and closer to that barrage. We'll just have to see. Boise State just pushing Grand Canyon off the point, not even having to get any eliminations.
And now that Gob has the
here it is.
barrage, we're probably going to get some.
And there it goes. But it's not going to really, they were just facing enough pressure from Axel and Carroll that barrage was just sort of an afterthought. Boise State, though, tears through Grand Canyon, gets the point on their first engage.
And now that they also have Blade, this is the next couple of fights are going to be unfortunate for Grand Canyon. Boise State does need to be sure to use them before Azwar charges and uses the Blizzard. And now Boise State needs to determine one person to sit on the cart. It looks like that is going to be chosen. And, oh no, it looks like that's actually going to be Paleto all the way back on the cart. So they don't have a Reinhardt, but they do have a Sigma. So the frontline battle is not completely lost. However, if Grand Canyon wants to, they could walk on Kel as the solo tank up there quite easily. Plato is not necessarily the optimal person you want.
So majestic, though. So majestic. That is the most majestic way to push a payload I have ever seen right now. We'll see how Maxwell does right now. It looks like the high noon is brought out by Sweet Potato, able to pick up Maxwell. It seems like Boise State's DPSs, when they want to pop off and use their ultimates, Grand Canyon has been able to counter them there. Plato's just going to go right into the hallway there. Just charge through everybody. Nerdy also, notice Nerdy on the Battle Mercy actually manages to pick up one.
And now Grand Canyon University has perhaps one fight if they don't get picked as they approach the cart here, and then Boise State just completely forgets it
Okay.
and sticks Plato back on there. Grand Canyon does not have the Shatter to pressure Boise State with, but they do have the Blizzard, and that is something that Boise State will need to be a little bit wary of because it looks like they're going to get a fight here.
Chosen's going to throw down that Amphater. Look at Sweet Potato, though. Kind of the MVP for Grand Canyon is finding a way to just pick off key members of Boise State right now. Thing is, though, Plato was on the payload, so Boise State's main fighting force is still here. Gob is just going to go back just a little to gain some space, continue pelting them with damage. Maxwell very low on health right now. We'll see how he does, but Chosen managing to take out Sweet Potato. It's kind of the key pick that you're looking for Grand Canyon. They still have a lot of ammo. They're going to throw out the Blizzard and the Amp Matrix as well as the bomb. Not going to pick up any members of Boise State, but their Dawn manages to, taking out Plato. Boise State, though, has made up so much time for themselves. They can afford to lose one or two.
And they're also coming up upon some very impactful and important ultimates. Gob will likely have another Rocket Barrage within the next mid-fight, if not sooner than that. Sweet Potato, however, does have Deadeye. We will expect him to use that probably defensively to do something about the barrage or to snipe both Gob and Dirty Bird out of the air because
Well, there's a huge shatter to just stop any sort of momentum from Grand Canyon. They're going to tear through that sound barrier. Boise State can press all of their Qs at the same time as well. There goes the Genji Blade taking out Sweet Potato. Flamehead getting a double onto Maxwell and Plato. Right now, Boise State very close to that second checkpoint. Nerdy with successful res onto Plato. Flamehead's also going to be eliminated. Both tanks gone for Grand Canyon. Boise State just has a short little walk, and they have it.
And now Grand Canyon has nothing to deny Boise State this last fight. This fight is definitely in Boise State's favor. Boise State has the amplification matrix if we'd like to use it, but Boise State also has just been winning the drive fights more often than not. So it's extra unfortunate if you're a Grand Canyon fan that Grand Canyon has no ult other than Amplification Matrix to try to stop this push.
The Sweet Potato eliminated by Gob. That's the main DPS Boise State has to worry about gone. Gob is able to take out a Pinnacle. Now Grand Canyon is being pushed off of the point here. And there's goes go. One final barrage for good measure onto Flamehead. The May and the Baptiste also being eliminated. Sweet Potato's back and is still going to get those characteristic picks onto two members, actually, of Boise. It looks like Plato's just going to swing right into Sweet Potato. Stop him.
If
One
Gob
final charge.
is the Boise State win condition, Sweet Potato is the Grand Canyon win condition.
That's true, yeah. It's basically eliminate Gob or eliminate Sweet Potato, and there's